Hey, welcome to Mimosas in the Morning. I'm your host, Josh Greenwood. Again, we are excited to have you all back watching the show. We're going to give it a couple minutes, let people log on. We have a few updates about the show, things that are going to be happening and going on moving forward. Let me get our online web presence started, and then we'll get going. Let's refresh. It's going to be nice getting like a professional setup soon and like having everything going for the show. Alrighty. IG stories. Come on. Alright, we'll get that up there in a minute. So, again, like we always started with, it's a nice mimosa. So I got my fun packet pack. And this is pretty cool. Just my little mimosa product of the week. I got this back in New York before we left at CVS. It was on sale. It was a great little buy. But it's all insulated on the inside. You can put it inside your freezer, which is great, and everything will be nice and cold. And you can keep it and pack it with you. I've got a full bottle in here. I've got orange juice, and I've got a cool pack, which kind of helps real well. And I like the design. It's kind of fun, funky, cool stuff to do. So we're going to, again, I love to always start by teaching people how to pour champagne properly. Again, this is a mason jar, which I like to have for all of my mimosa needs. I don't really use champagne glasses. If I was being fancy and just doing champagne, yes, I would have these, obviously, or cava or prosecco or whatever it is. But we're going to, again, teach you guys how to properly open and pour the champagne for your mimosa. So let's get started up. Here we go. Finally up and running. Let's give a little hello. All from the Mimosas in the Morning count. We got a fun guest on, Zach Siegel, coming on this today. We're going to talk about some finances and getting in. But first, let's do the fun stuff. So today we are drinking, this is honestly, it's my favorite because it's $5. Trader Joe's RSVP Brut. It's a California sparkling, dry, nice, great for mimosas, and it's $5. It's like $5.99. Super cheap, but the flavor, you're not really being too sad about what you're drinking. So let's go on in here and just do a quick little tutorial. All right, so you have the cage at the top. Obviously, we won't be going here. We're going in. Again, give it a few turns. Get the cage nice and open. You can do it with or without the cage as it goes in. Generally, keep one thumb over the top. I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to give most of the pressure into my first two fingers here. I'm not going to really pinch too hard for this, but I want to keep the label facing you as I go. So I'm going to go quarter turn, my third quarter turn, a little pop, right? You can make it so the pop is very limited, not a lot. You don't want things spraying out. You don't want to waste any of your good bubbly. And again, so last week I did it with the orange juice in first, which you can't get the full feel and vibe for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this totally flat as we go in, and we're not going to tilt this. So if you're pouring it into a champagne glass and we're going in, you're going to start to get that immediate like drop in. So you'll see how the bubbles start to build up. So what's going to happen is you're going to have such a kind of steady hand and pour where it continually pours, where the bubbles won't be able to keep up. So you notice right now the bubbles are kind of going down. You can keep the carbonation in, and everything starts to pour a little easier as you go. For those of you that like pour, and you, like every time it's just like 90% bubbles and a little bit of champagne at the bottom, and you're like, why is this happening? This is so annoying. And then you got to wait for it to go back down to refill again. Then it goes back down. You got to do that like thing where you're pouring it. Okay, wait for the bubbles to go down. Pour it. It means you're pouring too fast, right? So you want it like really almost like trickling out, consistent, but like very limited in the way that you're pouring. What's up, Ashok? Welcome. So we're going in. So when you're pouring it, you want to have a slow, consistent pour as you go in, and we really don't want to have an over excessive pour as you're going through. So let's add the magic ingredient for our wonderful mimos. Bringing that here in my other little mason jar. A little OJ. Got to give it out to Chloe every Sunday. These are like Chloe mimosas. Thank you, Chloe, for always being the best. Ooh, and cheers. Amazing. So yesterday I got to go visit a good friend, Lena. Maddie and I went out and got to do our first socially distant, masked, outside, safe hangout, which is kind of cool. It's a place called Vital Root. It's on Tennyson Street down in, I believe the Berkeley area of Denver. Amazing vegan, vegetarian food. But they had these blood orange mimosas, which were to die for. It's amazing. You can get a big old carafe of it. It's very nice, very good. So mimosas last night, mimosas today. Just one, but as we're going through, let's give you a couple waves up here. Zach is in, and we're gonna keep it on here. So before we have Zach on, let's talk about our pandemic products of the week. We're gonna talk about a little bit of updates in future, what's going on with the show as we're going in, and we're looking at a new mode and a model for the show that we're experiencing and practicing for now. In the next upcoming weeks, we're trying to transition to the ability to have multiple guests on and go through. So we might stay on Instagram Live, we might not, we might record it separately, not live, and then go in and put it up on Instagram Live. So we'll keep you guys all updated on what's going on with that. We're trying to transition to a Zoom multicam platform with groups of guests, so we can have more of a collective group thing going on, which will be fun. Again, stay updated. Follow at Mimosas in the Morning. Follow at jgreenwood NYC here. You can get updates about when we're going to have the show. A new spin-off show coming, hopefully by the end of August, called Mimosas After Dark. Mimosas After Dark is going to be our fun, edgier, less like, hey, this is friendly and fun talk. We're gonna get into the nitty-gritty, no holds barred. Drop all the F-bombs you want. Have a good time. Be our adults-only show. Granted, I don't think any kids here are ever watching this show or going in while we're drinking on Sundays. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about before we get Zach on. Known Zach for years. Know Zach's sister. Zach has one of the cutest puppies. They just got on now, so we'll ask him about his puppies when we get on too. But Zach has a lot of really good sound financial advice. I'll have him tell you a little bit more about what he does when we get on. But a few things I found throughout this pandemic, throughout the lockdown, through these shutdowns, is that you got a lot of time on your hands. Unemployed, a lot of people are out of work, especially people in, TV, film, people in hospitality or hands-on businesses, martial arts, yoga, fitness, all of these other realms where you just physically can't work. And it's not something that's like, I'm going to give up my whole career, my entire background, and all this stuff and everything that I've done over the last decades to throw all that hard work out. So it's one of those things. It's like, hey, we can hunker down. It's going to be over at some point. What can you do to position yourself to thrive when things back open? What can I do in this period of time where everything is locked down and I can't physically work? Does it mean I can't actually work? Yeah, I can still work. I can continue to build my brand. I can continue to expand the realm in which you operate to get more clients in for the future, to get your name out there. And there's a lot of different things that I'm finding are possible during this time because you have the time to do it. But one thing I found is, and I've actually really enjoyed it, and Maddie's helped me a lot, really enjoy building my credit. So it's interesting, there's a lot of little things you can do during this time to try and, keep track of your finances, spend less, try to save, try and put money towards bills that are going to accrue interest, things like that you can really bump your credit score up. So when this is over, if you need to get a business loan because you're starting a business, if you want to get, hey babe, the wife is on, if you want to position yourself in a place where you can start something and take advantage of a period of time where, although there are very, very sad things happening for a lot of people, a lot of businesses are closing, a lot of people are being saddled with a lot of debt and or other awful occurrences because of the pandemic, because of government malfeasance and not really taking care of the people. Let alone this is the week where the PUA $600 extra from the CARES Act ends for a lot of people. It's going to be rough going forward. But how do you position yourself? How do you put yourself into a place where you can thrive after? When you look at every economic downturn and you start seeing trends, the people that position themselves in a place before or during to be able to move on something immediately thereafter reap the benefits of not necessarily, you're not praising that other people are, struggling or doing anything at all, but that doesn't mean you can't take advantage of low interest rates, of really good rates, of things that are going to give you a leg up in starting your business, which you might not normally get in a time of thriving economical, growth or economic growth. Things that we are finding in starting a business, it's completely changed in the last year and a half from where we were looking for real estate before till now. I think a lot of people are finding that after the 2009 downturn, 2008, 2009, the recession, when we had the housing bubble pop and everything crashed, there were a lot of businesses that were able to pivot and either expand or start out of that because real estate was very cheap, because the ability to get a loan was better, that you had the opportunity to really expand and have the you got more bang for your buck. I mean, really is what it comes down to in these times. So you have a stronger buying power. So I think something that is important to say, like, hey, if you're an actor, if you are a bartender, if you are a performer or creative person in any realm, how can you use that? What can you do to leverage as well and pivot during this, where people are really turning to an online outsource? But then you think about it too, it's okay, everyone's online now because we can't be in person for a lot of places. What's going to happen after that, when things start to open up, when there is a vaccine, when people have had the opportunity to, now go back out into public and do it? What are the needs of your clientele? What are the needs of people that you are going to be servicing after? So it's an interesting time to say, like, hey, what are we going to do? How do you pivot? How do you, as a business, survive and expand when you have the opportunity to do it? You can't let anything go to waste. If you have an opportunity, take that opportunity if you want to grow and expand and do whatever. So these are some questions that I've been asking myself, things that I've been thinking about, Maddie and I have been talking about. So I think we should get some sound financial advice. I think Zach's going to be here, going to help us on it in a few minutes. It's one of those things where, just personally knowing that, if you don't have an accountant, you don't have a financial advisor, you don't have these people, where do you get this information? You can Google it, you can go online. You don't necessarily always get something that's tailor-made for you and your situation or what you can or cannot do. Are you going to start a web page where you're now doing subscription services or private coaching for auditions as an actor? You're helping people with voice lessons online. You're helping somebody with dance classes through Zoom, or you're doing this stuff. How can you position yourself as a business to get the most tax write-offs, the ability to get business loans? How do you apply for an EIN through the IRS? How do you get your business set up and running? There's a lot of hard questions to answer that you can find on Google, but again, it takes money to pay for somebody else to do all this stuff. When I started my business, I did it all by myself. It's not easy, it's hard, it is difficult setting everything up to make sure that you're in the right realm where you're not doing anything illegal, because you want to pay your taxes, you want to make sure you're doing everything appropriately and they're not going to come after you. And what kind of business do you set up? So a lot of questions to be asked. There are a lot of smart people out there that maybe have friends or family that you can do that, but we have all this stuff going on here. We're going to have Zach come on in a minute here and give us some information. I got a big long list of questions to ask for him that hopefully you guys as the viewers will be able to take home with you, replay it. You can watch it on our YouTube at jgreenwoodnyc and see, looking at my notes right now, see how it can help you in the future. So let me send a quick request over to the Zachary and get him on, see if we got to adjust the cameras and go from there. I'm going to turn the volume up so I can hear him. So we're waiting for Zach to connect here. But again, everyone give Zach a warm welcome. Really grateful for him. What's up, Zach? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? Cheers.
Good. Cheers. Welcome. Happy morning. I got my coffee and mimosa. I got a mix between both so I can stay awake and, and
yeah, man. I've had myself a whole morning already at the dog park, and
yeah,
there's this there's this like dog coffee bar in Astoria on Vernon Boulevard, where like half of it is like a big playpen for dogs, and then the other side is like espresso and cappuccinos and really good coffee.
Oh, that's cool.
So we had a whole morning.
That's awesome.
Everything you were saying was so good though, man. That was like extremely on point.
We get there. Like, I try to give a little good introduction and getting stuff going on in here. Well, people's with some waves. Pow, pow. Thanks for coming on the show. What's that? You know what's funny? I was actually talking years ago to this real estate guy I was talking to, and I was like, you know what we don't have? It's like, everyone's doing cat cafes. I was like, why don't we have like a dog bar or a dog like coffee place or something, which is exactly what you're describing. But
yeah, dude, I mean, there were quite a couple on the Upper East Side, back where you used to live. And I love how what you're saying, like when you set up a business, you don't want to do anything illegal. Like, it's not like you are doing it intentionally. Like, people will do it and they will be non-compliant without even knowing. Yeah, you know what I mean? Sure. They just don't know better. You frankly, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And that's why you specifically and a lot of people surround themselves with advisors that help them with that stuff, because you're good at what you're good at and they're good at what they're good at.
Yeah. It's so true. It's like one of those things I got when I first started my business, advice from somebody who was like, you're not a sales tax a person. Like, what you offer, you don't have to pay sales tax. And I was like, okay, great, awesome, that's good. But then also they didn't tell me that you still have to file for a sales tax license and just claim zero on your quarterly to go through. So for the first year of operation for me doing my private stuff, I had to have a tax license.
Some of it like that is so ridiculous too. It's like, why? Yeah, but at the same time, if it was that easy to open a small business, then everybody would do it, right? And it's not easy, but at the same time, if you take action and you surround yourself and you do the research, and you surround yourself with good advisors, it is relatively easy, especially if you have good credit too. Starting out, credit is so important. I can't stress that enough, because yes, you can get to a point where everything is kind of based on business credit, but that takes like 10 years of established business history, multiple business trade lines, multiple relationships set up with your vendors where they actually give you things on credit that you pay them back in net 30 or net 60 terms. It takes a long time. So in the very beginning, your personal credit score is so important. And it's so important not only for business financing, but for mortgages, for auto loans. The difference between a 750 credit score and a 650 credit score on a 30-year mortgage on average is $60,000 in interest.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, it's interesting too, because I got a little list of questions and stuff, and that you're starting to hit on like my first tier of things. I'm trying to obviously build it up for people, because it's before we get into we talk about like increasing credit score, what are the most important things about your credit score personally transitioning? Why don't you give a little bit of shout out to maybe your business, what you do on here, so if people come back and see this video, they can find you. So like, what is it you do? Like, what is your elevator pitch? Like, hey, I'm Zach Siegel. This is my business. This is what I do.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. I didn't even plan on giving any elevator pitch. I just wanted to spread some value. But yeah, I'm Zach Siegel. This is what I do. I'm a business lending marketplace, so I have a network of about 50 banks, lenders, and providers of working capital, banks, lenders, and underwriters that I have personal relationships with. So when you go to me, I do my own underwriting in-house, and have multiple programs to get you business financing and get you the working capital that you need to grow and enhance your business, including equipment financing, factoring invoices, working capital loans, startup financing, collateral-based lending, contract financing, asset-based lending. Really every single program that a bank has to offer and that alternative lenders have to offer, you can get all of those through me. And you can follow me on Instagram, Zachary J. Siegel, or you can follow me on Facebook at Zachary Siegel. You'll see my face. It's a public profile. I don't really hide it at all. You can also call me at 786-758-4497, or email me at z.siegel@capladder.com. That's CAPLADDER.com, where I'm an account manager. And essentially what the benefit is of going through me instead of going to a bank is, you'll probably go to like 4 different banks before a bank says yes. Whereas if you go to me, you don't have to go through the, whole like pissing, like kind of hoping for the best, hoping for a yes, like fingers crossed. When you come to me, I will see where you're at in your business. I'll see what the use of funds are going to be. I'll see where your credit's at. I will look at your cash flow of your business bank statements, and I'll know exactly which 3 lenders or banks in my marketplace I'm going to get to fight over you, to earn your business, to literally get you the best deal possible. But when it comes to startup capital, it really is all about credit if you have no assets, because basically, anything under 3 years time in business is in a high risk tier, right? Yeah. So anything that you do in the beginning of your business is usually going to be unsecured. If you have an asset, you could certainly secure some financing through that, asset, whether it be residential property or commercial property. But typically, people starting their businesses don't own a home. They don't own commercial property. And right now,
how many people in New York, literally how many people in New York are just like, everybody rents, everyone has an apartment. Like, who owns? Like, very little. If you own, you probably have enough funds to really do whatever you want with your own business anyway.
Exactly. And especially if you own it outright. You could get a home equity line of credit. You can get an asset-based loan easily. But typically everything is going to be unsecured because, everybody in their late 20s, early 30s is really embracing entrepreneurship, and I love it. And I speak with at least 50 small business owners a day, and 40 out of the 50 of them are doing freaking awesome. They have pivoted their businesses in a manner that gives them more online presence. They are making more sales through their social media presence, and they are doing things that are adapting to this crazy world that we're living in right now. And at the very beginning, don't get me wrong, I still talk to those, different 50 business owners every single day, and it was quite depressing. But now I'm hearing some awesome stories about how, people saw an opportunity here and they embraced it and they pivoted to capitalize on that opportunity. And I love it. And then, the 10% of people that aren't doing well typically are your victims that kind of have a way to blame everybody else for their own problems.
Yeah.
And frankly, I feel bad for those people. I try my best to show them the light, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah. Well, going off and pivoting off that too, I guess starting off for people too, we talked about it and you were saying how important it is, especially if you don't have a business or in your first 3 years, you don't have a lot of assets to go on. Why is having a good credit score so important? And what are the biggest factors in what determines your credit score? I know that personally for me, I'd be like, oh, my credit score, I got a credit card, I can pay off some of this, and I got a phone bill, this, but some things don't go towards your credit score. It's more complicated than and obviously there are services you can use to track your credit score. So why is it so important, and what can somebody do, or what are the most important factors in that give you a good credit score?
That's a great question. It's important because your credit score literally tells a person or somebody that's letting you borrow something your probability of paying that something back, right? So FICO scores range anywhere from anywhere from 350, which is terrible, to 850, which is amazing. So 850 is the highest, 350 is the lowest. If you have a 350, there's just take that number and put a decimal to the left of it. There's a 35% chance of, in the eyes of an underwriter or a lender, if you have a 350 credit score, there's a 35% chance that you're going to pay this back. If you have an 850 credit score, take that same decimal, move it over. The underwriter or the bank sees you as an 85% chance that you're going to pay back whatever you're borrowing from them. So that's why credit is extremely important, and it makes everything so much cheaper.
Yeah.
When it comes to auto loans, mortgages, business financing, which is what I specialize in specifically, you might like spend maybe $500, $700 on loan prep, which we also do, to build your credit up. If you because we all make mistakes when we're 18, 19, 20, and we're just getting credit cards for the first time. I know I was, yep. and like, so sometimes, when you hit your late 20s or early 30s, you decide, hey, credit's important. I want to work on it. So you invest in something like loan prep, where we'll actually write dispute letters for you and take negative items off of your credit report and only charge on a success or contingency basis, $50 per successfully removed item. And then you take your 550 score to like a 700, and then that's with all the negative items removed, right?
Yeah.
And you spend like maybe $750 to save, or you invest maybe $750 to save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest costs over your lifetime. So that is why credit is so important, because the better it is, the cheaper things are, the more buying power you have. And some certain ways to build your credit is to use it. Guys, get credit cards. Even if you have a bad credit score, you can get a secured credit card where you pay like $200 to get the card, and you're securing it with that capital, if that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, just let me know. And then there's something called
guys, if you have any questions.
Yeah, guys, drop a comment if you guys have any questions, please. I love answering questions. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. I was about to say something. I forgot what it was, though. Okay, yeah. There's something called a credit utilization. What's up?
That you're talking about getting a secured credit card to start building your credit and going up in.
Yeah, if your credit's bad, then you got to get a secured card to start building it up. Like, that's how you get a good credit score. The way that you go from a 700 credit score to above an 800 is by using your credit responsibly, right? Yep. So there's something called a credit utilization ratio. So say you have three, actually, let's just make this easier on me, because it's Sunday on the weekend, and I have been drinking this weekend. So
doing it right now.
Cheers. So let's say you have a $10,000 credit card, and that $10,000 is the limit of the card, right? That's the most that you could spend. That's the most available credit that you have. So your credit utilization ratio is your outstanding balance in ratio to your limit. So if you owe $3,000 on that card, your credit utilization ratio of all the limits that you have outstanding is 30%. And typically, in order to proactively build your credit score, you want to use multiple unsecured credit cards, and you want to have them each at as little as 1% utilization and at most 30% utilization, and pay them off early or on time every month. And that's going to proactively build your credit score. So if you have a $10,000 limit card and you don't feel like using your credit card, just spend $100 on it. Like every month, that's 1% utilization on a $10,000 card. And that'll do really amazing things for your credit just by, and I know people are afraid of credit. You don't need to be. You shouldn't be, frankly, because the only way to improve your credit and the only way to increase your buying power is by using it, right? So and it's not like if you don't use it, you'll lose it either, because, it'll still be there. However, having an actual credit history and like having, a couple of years under your belt of actually using credit responsibly at a 30% or less utilization ratio to your limit, it speaks light years. It speaks a lot to the underwriters and people that give startup financing and people that give business financing. because, they see that you have a history of using your credit responsibly. And that also will proactively build your score too.
Well, it's interesting what you're saying on that is obviously my next question. Will kind of jump onto that. But before we get there is, I know that Maddie and I have talked a lot about, like, we're starting a business. It's so important to have your personal credit because, again, like, I'm in the first, like, 3 years of my own personal business. We don't have that, the assets and the equity and all sorts of stuff going on yet. But it's interesting, like, just like you said, spend a little bit on your credit card per month. And something that we've done that I don't know if you'd recommend, but, like, obviously it's here to keep your finances in check. It's like, hey, we have 3 credit cards or whatever number it is, not putting the personal information out there, but we have a couple credit cards. We have certain bills on this one, certain bills on this one, and we know we have that income coming in anyway. So we do an automatic payment every month to the credit card. So it always uses that, like, 3 or 4% of the card, gets paid off every single month, gives you that good credit history of always paying it off every month, and you're still using the cards and building it in. And it was crazy to see the increase of, like, saying, hey, just a year ago when we're like, oh, I don't know if I want to touch the credit card at all, just embracing it, going from, a 675 credit score to now above 800 in the matter of a year is, like, it's crazy to see. And now seeing, like, oh, you want an auto loan, we're getting off, like, not even asking, just getting offered. Be like,
you're probably getting bombarded.
35K now. Do this, buy a car. We'll give it to you for like 2%. We'll do, and it's crazy because before you would have to scrape to try to find something. And it's interesting just by these little actions and embracing it in a safe manner. It really helps. And I guess in my next question for you too is, like, what are the pitfalls? I know people are afraid of credit. What are, like, maybe a couple things that you've heard of or know that people get stuck in that negatively affects their credit? Like, what is this, like, if you're not responsible with your money, what are the things that generally, like, kind of pop in there?
No, totally. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with everything you said. I put my AirPod in, by the way. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you great. Yeah, AirPods are nice. I gotta upgrade and get some.
Yeah, I could barely hear you when you were asking questions. I felt like kind of rude. Like, I wasn't sure if you were trying to say something while I was speaking. So don't max out your credit cards, guys. Like, use them responsibly. Like I mentioned before, anywhere from a 1 to a 30% utilization ratio per month, and don't use money that you don't have coming in. Just like Josh said, him and Maddie, they use their cards responsibly to go from a 700 score to above an 800 because they know that they have that income coming in to pay off what they're spending the credit on. And that is proactively building their score, giving them a solid credit history, setting them up for, quite a bit of unsecured financing to, fall back on if they need it for their business. And just be responsible with it. I mean, the pitfalls are your fault, and I don't know how to sugarcoat that at all, but, and we've all been there. Like, I've certainly made the mistake of getting into too much credit card debt, in my early 20s. And you live and you learn, and that's why people are afraid of credit. Because, people, and a lot of people just grow up on cash, especially, a lot of us from New York. Like, we use cash our entire lives,
Cash is king.
Yeah, I mean, cash is king. But when it comes to getting an auto loan or mortgage or business financing, credit is king. Cash can be king if you want to use it as collateral and put a down payment on like a piece of equipment or an asset of some sorts. But when it comes to borrowing money, credit is king. But having that actual cash is great. However, if I would rather an 800 credit score over $1,000, because I know an 800 credit score can get me up to $100,000. Or can save me, over $100,000 on a 30-year mortgage, or can save me over $100,000 on a business loan by being able to qualify for an SBA loan, as opposed to, like, a working capital merchant cash advance, which has its place in business financing, but they're expensive and they're short term, and sometimes they could be a little bit negatively affecting your cash flow. Whereas an SBA loan is, a single digit interest rate, unsecured up to $350,000. If you secure it with an asset, it could go up to $5 million, and it's 7.25% interest over 10 to 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's a traditional SBA 7A loan that I was just referring to. The SBA loans that everybody is getting now is seriously the cheapest freaking money I've ever seen. 3.75% over 30 years, 12 months of payments deferred, unsecured, up to $150,000. Like it's insane. I've like talked to a lot of business owners that didn't even know it existed. And like, I will fill out the application for them on the phone with them and walk them through it because, you know, you don't know what you don't know, right? And these people are focused on running their business. They're focused on figuring out ways to generate revenue.
Yeah.
And when I hear this, I'm just like, dude, we're going to get you some real cheap money right now. So I will fill out the application for them. You know, and just last 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, there was a residential contracting company, and she was about to declare bankruptcy because she owed $60,000 in back taxes and $75,000 to her vendors that provide her with the materials and you know, the subcontractors that they need to complete jobs, right, or contracts.
Yeah.
And they were about to declare bankruptcy, but we applied for the SBA loan when she was on the phone with me, and that was on a Friday, and then she got funded $150,000 that next Tuesday.
That's
and
crazy.
we also combined that. We combined that with a $103,000 working capital loan or merchant cash advance.
Yeah.
So she had $20,000 in credit card debt, $75,000 owed to vendors, and $60,000 in back taxes. All of that is like wiped out. She got rid of all of her accounts payables, or the money that she owed as a business on your balance sheet. She got rid of all of it. And, you know, now with her paying down her credit card debt, we can circle back and then do 0% APR credit card stacking.
Yeah.
You know, because like the combination of the short-term financing and the SBA loan that we got them is great. And we got, you know, she's in a much better place than she was before. But like, you know, it might not be enough. Residential contracting is a difficult business because you have to wait on your draws as per you completing the job. So a lot of times you won't have the money to start a job. Like, she wasn't selling, she wasn't bidding on jobs because she had all of this money that she owed to people.
Yeah.
And you know, and you know, what we're gonna do is, now that she's got her credit cards paid down, she's got all those payables off, her credit's back above a 700. So we're just gonna circle back and get her a bunch of 0% APR cards that she could fall back on just in case she ever needs it.
Yeah.
You know, and they're at 0% APR for the first, on average, 15 months. And you only pay back what you use. So it's just a matter of, like, you know, she was in a hole. We gave her a ladder, and you know, now she's doing excellent.
Is that why you guys are cap ladder?
No, they did not do that intentionally, but I use
sense,
it
though.
all the time. I legit use it all the time. I'm just like, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna climb this cap ladder.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna
start here.
Whether or not you're climbing up or you're helping people get out, they need a ladder. People need a ladder. Well,
Yeah,
it's interesting too. Like, what do you? So we go in here. We're talking about, again, like, kind of building your credit score and going in, and you know, there's so many different options and things. And like, a couple things I want to clarify too, because like, I didn't know this until like a couple years ago, digging into it and looking. Like, I was like, what's an SBA 7A? What are these things? Like, what are all these acronyms? It's like SBA Small Business Association. And you're talking about like different types of financing that you can go in. 7A loans are some of the best ones that you can get out there, unless I'm speaking wrong.
That's correct.
And then, you know, different options and things going in. And especially right now, like, there's the EIDL. I don't believe that it's accessible anymore, except for if you're an agricultural business, which has changed. But I mean, it's helped me out, and it's continuing to help me out from the loan that I got for my business, which is, again, you're right, so cheap, 3.75
Exactly.
over 50 years for like 12 months deferred interest going in. It's great. No payments. Like it
Mm-hmm.
really helps you out. Personally, myself having to pivot to a fully online business when you can't actually physically be in contact with people is something that's difficult. And I think people will fall back onto credit cards. Then all of a sudden, you're right, they max out all their credit cards because they're trying to pay all these debts or trying to stay in business and operate and stay afloat. But you invest, like you said, $400 or $500 of that, help to a business individual or credit tax, investment financial individual that can help you get these loans. That can help you to get into a better position and place to get out. I guess the next question too is like, what do you? So we asked this. Okay, so here's an important one because this is something I didn't know either. So if somebody wants to start a business, like say I'm like, okay, I have an idea for a widget factory. I want to build a widget factory, and I got this stuff, but I don't own a house. I don't have any capital. I'm brand new. I got nothing. What are the most important first steps? Should they get an EIN? Should they apply? Like, what are the things someone should do before they go and apply for a business loan? Or what's the best things they can do to put themselves in a good position to get approved for some sort of working capital or business loan?
That's a great question. The first thing would be to have great credit, have some years of credit history established, and we already touched on that, so I'm not going to dive too deeply into that. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And then, thank you. And then get your LLC, get your S Corp. If you want to do something huge with shareholders, then you want to get a C Corp. And it doesn't even need to be in your state, frankly. You can do it through a remote agent. And if you want to just write that down, if you're listening, remote agent in another state for whatever purposes you may want to do that for, you can certainly do that. So if you are making gross revenue of $75,000 or more a year, you should not be a sole proprietor. You are losing a lot of money in taxes. But I will maybe touch on that later and answer your question more simply. Get an entity established and open a business bank account. And make as many deposits into that business bank account as possible. When revenue comes in from your business, deposit it into the account. I don't care if it's cash. I don't care if you want to take your family out with the check that you just got. Put it in the freaking bank first, and then use your debit card. Because having the deposits and the revenue that you generate from your business in actually reflecting in your business bank account is so important. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, because I literally offend people weekly by saying this, and I'm like I'm not the type of advisor that's going to let you get away with something that's going to end up costing you money. Yeah. Because when you don't deposit all of your cash, you look like you're making way less money to underwriters, and then you wonder why you don't qualify for what you wanted or what you think you deserve. And the reason is because you decided not to reflect that revenue in your business bank account. So guys, just make the deposits into your business bank account and make as many as possible. And you put all of your business revenue into that account, and then use your debit card from that account, and use it on your overhead expenses. I would recommend keeping personal and business separate, but it's okay to use your business debit card on personal stuff too. I would highly recommend keeping personal and business separate, but it's not the end all be all if you use your business debit card on personal stuff, especially if you're a small business owner and not large corporation.
Yeah, I found that too, talking to, I got to give a shout out to Josh Urist, really amazing lawyer, New York going in.
Nice.
Super cool guy, definitely dealing with small business stuff, and a general counsel is awesome. But it's
nice.
one thing
you should introduce us.
Definitely, he's amazing. He deals with Motor New York, has a ton of other businesses and people he deals with. He's helping me out through many different things. Does great work. Definitely connect you guys.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. It's one of those things too where you're definitely like, hey, maybe there are different options for you in your business. Maybe you are putting all your money in your business account, which is great, which on the financial side you're talking about makes your business look better for loans, has your overall income and revenue coming up higher, which is great. And then it's like, maybe you don't want to use your business card for your personal expenses.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a separate account where you pay yourself, and now you can use those are your personal expense. That's your personal expense money, because now it's a line item expense for your business as paying an employee. Or
No, totally. And I think every business owner should, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, bud,
no, I love
but
it.
I think every business owner should W-2 themselves as an employee. That's
Yeah.
that's the best way to do it, hands down. Like if you end up getting into this habit of paying yourself out of your business bank account, it's going to become exactly that, a habit, and it's
Yeah.
not a good habit. It's
Yeah.
it's like smoking cigarettes. It's a bad habit. Don't get into that habit. I can introduce you to a very reliable payroll company that can walk you exactly through how to W-2 yourself and pay yourself appropriately as a small business owner,
Yeah.
with getting proper tax incentives for doing so, as well as just there are just lots of benefits that come with W-2ing yourself.
But especially with, I know 4 years ago when the, government changed hands, there were a lot of changes to tax law, a lot of changes to businesses and what they can and cannot claim. A lot of people that were not technically a business, that, teachers and different, like, I know in the fitness world, yoga teachers could not anymore use workplace deductions on their taxes, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And also, but if you had a business, which luckily I did and set up, now you can use those. You can get those deductions. You can pay yourself and do things. And it really is just in the long run, like you said, start the business, get your EIN, have your LLC, your S corp,
Business bank account,
or whatever, business bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Have that all set up, because it's not going to hurt you in the long run. It's only going to make things better and cheaper for you.
And dude, shit changes every day. Like 4 years ago, tax laws changed. Like this EIDL loan and the PPP, like the rules on these freaking government loans have changed. If I had a dollar for every time they changed, I'd have at least $20. At least. Like, and I'm on the Treasury Secretary's website every day, just like, let's see what happens today, But
who knows?
A lot of times. And right now, they are still processing EIDL applications. They're accepting them. They're still funding for more than just agriculture businesses. So you guys can certainly still apply. There was 1 week there when it was just only agriculture businesses. Then there was like a whole month there where it was up to 2 million instead of up to 150 if you secure it with collateral. And then unsecured up to 25,000 only. They didn't have their minds made up. It was a mess.
It was a serious mess.
As a business financing advisor, like it was freaking stressful.
Like when I applied for it, I remember applying because I heard another friend who had a home. She did a home tutoring for musicians business. And she heard about it the first week. I was still actually sick with COVID at the time. And I was like, maybe I should apply just for something. And even personally for me, after I applied, put everything in, it took me, I think, 2.5 months to even hear back. You couldn't even check in with the SBA because you couldn't get through on, you couldn't call because too many people were calling.
Too many people.
It was insane. It was like the rules were changing all the time. They cut it down from this. Only certain businesses applied, and this and that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got,
you got the grant, right? And right now they're not doing the grants anymore. So there's no more, there was a $1,000 to $10,000 grant that does not need to be paid back, and they're no longer doing that because all of the money is supposedly already allocated, which also makes zero sense.
None.
And in terms of the Paycheck Protection Plan loan, I believe that applications stopped getting accepted as of June 25th. But they might have extended that. So I'm not sure. You would have to research that yourselves.
Yeah, I believe I heard that they're reopening the PPP.
Yeah, I don't think ink went to paper though.
Yeah, but who knows? So yeah, like it's always like what they'll say something, and who knows? Senate's on a recess right now for a 3-day weekend because they want to go party and do whatever and not actually help anybody. But we'll see when they get back what actually gets passed and happens. Yeah. It's a whole thing.
There's a new stimulus they're working on right now. They're not coming anywhere close to an agreement.
No.
It doesn't seem like they're close to agreeing on much of this stuff, but they are working on it, supposedly. Some sort of new stimulus package outside of the CARES Act. which is
Yeah.
the act that included the economic injury disaster loan and the paycheck protection plan and the $1,200 check. Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's so many different things I've heard coming through from Senate, different people being pitched from the House to the actual Senate, from the Judiciary committees, and like other people that are talking about, like, you know, maybe we'll do $200 a week, or maybe we'll do
crazy.
one check of $1,200 and that's it, or we'll do like 70% of what your salary is, and then like there's so many different things that are just up in the air, and it's like you know, from what I've read,
just from talking to small business owners, you want to hear some shit like. They're like, with this $600 in addition that is ending on the unemployment, which you did mention at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people that are just chilling, you know, and that, like, you know, I'll talk to business owners and they'll be like, none of my employees want to come back. They're making more money at home doing nothing. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fucked. And excuse my French, but I mean. Small business owners curse a lot too, and so you know I curse right back with them. But it is, like, you know, really weird that most people claiming unemployment over the last 5 or 6 months or so are getting paid quite a bit more than they normally would at work. So there are a lot of business owners out there that are finding trouble in getting their employees to come back, even with the Paycheck Protection Plan stimulus money, because they can't match what their employees are making on unemployment. And frankly, like, when it comes to giving advice on that, I don't have much to give, because like the only advice that I have to give on that is like, hey, do you really want employees that are, you know, okay with sitting at home instead of working to earn their money? And you know, that's not even the best advice, but that's like all I got.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. Like, I've seen a couple different, you know, studies and things that have gone through, and it's like part of it is like literally it's like a living workable wage for a lot of places. It's like the minimum wage is so low in certain states and certain places. It's like they're finally getting a taste of like, oh, I actually can afford my bills and like put up some savings and pay off my debts and do this stuff.
Yeah, like, and my roommate actually did that too. He paid down his credit card. He was a bar manager, so he got the full. He was W-2 bar manager. He was getting like $1,200 a week.
Yeah,
or, a week.
I think there's a part of this
paying down his cards.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I think there's a part of it where it goes into like a depth of like for me, for example. I physically can't work. The $600 a week, my unemployment is so low. It's like I literally make the bare minimum of what they can give you in New York State. But the $600 a week keeps us afloat to the point where I can pay the bills and my student loans and these other things that are going through. But at the same time, there is a, you know, without that, there's just no way to survive or do stuff because there's no other job.
Because there's no work. Yeah,
I physically can't work. But I think, like you said too, there's a lot of other places where it's like there's a lot of places hiring, and I think Maddie and I had a discussion about it the other day. It's like we're still in the midst of the pandemic. New York, because they went so hard, is doing a lot better than other places.
Dude, we're going on like 20 deaths a week, which is
that's amazing.
Really, really good. You know,
so much better. I mean, think about
we're not shaking hands, we're not hugging people. Like we're
no.
We learned our lesson.
I mean, it was really bad. And I think one thing that happened in New York is I think everybody knew somebody that had COVID and was really sick or something happened. Yeah. I was stuck in my bed for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude, I never thought I was going to see my dad again.
I know. It's the scariest thing ever. And then you talk about, like, you know, you want to hit it hard and be safe. But I think one of the things with this with everything that's happening is, like, there are a lot of other states that didn't take it as seriously, that are now saying like, hey, let's open schools, let's just do this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And we're still in the middle of a pandemic. All these things happening. Like, I can't go back to work physically doing what I do until we get a vaccine, until things start to move forward. But there are a lot of places, I see like Ross, Target, a lot of retail places are all like, hey, we're hiring, we really need people. And I think something that is, there were two main topics that Maddie and I really have talked about a lot over. It's like, one, I'm not going to give up I have a career. As soon as this is over, I can go back to work and do what I'm doing, but I'm not going to jeopardize my health for barely minimum wage to go back to a retailer and work for them, for some corporate entity that, you know, is letting me get yelled at by some non-masking person who's like pissed off that they have to wear a mask. So I think there are definitely like these, like, it's weird. I think it's definitely in between different places. I'm not going to put my health in jeopardy to sell some tennis shoes to some people.
I totally agree with you, 1,000%. But from the other side of that perspective, like, I've picked up some rock stars in terms of like salespeople that got fired because, you know, cash is in high demand. What I do is in extremely high demand, and from the other side of that, like, I've gotten some amazing salespeople on my team because of this pandemic and because of you know, companies letting them go.
Yeah.
So there is that positive
There's always
side.
that
I've gotten some
yeah.
freaking rock stars on my team because of this. You know,
I was just I did this Zoom like business like class. And I was like, you know what? I got all the time in the world. Let's go take these classes. So from NYU, I did some from a couple different places. But there's this guy talking about it. It was amazing. He was like, so many people are being let go. He's like, Amazon, Google, all these businesses are going to be scooping up this top percent of people because
and they're good people.
They're great people and they're really good. And it's like, if there's opportunity out there, if you want to go out and grind, you want to get a step up and go somewhere else and do it, it's out there. Especially if you're in tech, finance, the ability to do something where you have an online platform
or sales.
Guys,
and I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars into personal development. Every single thing that I read, that I hear in terms of, you know, really successful people, you know, where I want to be, like Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, you know, Tony Robbins, they all will say that sales is the best skill that you can learn.
Honestly, yeah, like even on just a basic level of human communication, people want to hire somebody they can talk to. People want to hire somebody they feel like they can have a beer with after work. Somebody that is, you know, can resonate with them on a level. I mean, for me personally, and
you just nailed it.
Private training, just being able to communicate with people and make them feel comfortable will like exponentially increase your sales output. We have 2 more minutes on the show before Instagram Live cuts us off. I just want to give us a head up on going here. So I got another question for you.
Oh, too bad. I could do this for like another 30 minutes at least with you.
Honestly, this is the thing about Instagram Live and why we might be pivoting from the platform in a little bit, because I feel like the show should at least be an hour and a half. We get into it at like an hour and going. So I got one quick question and then like a little speed round for you for a minute. So quick question is, and this applies to me personally as well. So there are people that are out there, I think in this time want to, we got the 2-minute warning. Here we go. So gonna go fast. Business loan, home mortgage. I've heard different things. Should you get a home mortgage before you get a business loan? Or if I'm applying for a business loan, having a mortgage and having a house, is it better?
If you're applying for a business loan, having a house and having a mortgage is better, because if you have a mortgage and you're making successful payments on that mortgage, then it makes you look more credible to any underwriter or bank. So get the house first, and then start the business. And a mortgage is always going to be much cheaper than a business loan, because the mortgage itself is secured by the home, which is the asset that's being collateralized, so to speak. So the mortgage rates are much cheaper than business loans because it is secured by that actual asset, which is the home itself.
Love it. So 1 minute left. We're going to go 45-second speed round. This is the fun round. All right. Favorite movie?
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, great. Favorite artist, so musical artist?
Oh, man, so tough.
I know, it's the hard one.
Whew. Bob Marley.
Amazing. Favorite drink, or like best cocktail, drink, beer, whatever. If you had to choose one, what would it be?
Jameson Rocks.
That's a good one. What is your, if you could go anywhere right now in the world for free, where would you go?
Colombia, Medellin.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Going that South America life, getting out there.
That's the first place I want to go.
50 seconds left. I just want to say thank you so much for joining the show today. This is going to be up on Instagram Live. It's going to be at IGTV and YouTube. Zach Siegel, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Cheers. Good talking to you.
Peace out. Thank you. Bye.
Peace, buddy.